Boom, we are back with episode number 102. I'm really excited for this one. I'm having Impa Kasanganay, who is one of he's getting a lot of attention on social media. Obviously, he didn't have I guess the result didn't go his way at Fight Island, but that being said, I mean, his followers have grown. He's a huge fan favorite. A lot of people like him, not just for his fighting style, but also his attitude towards the game. I've been a fan since before the Contender series, and is now in the UFC. And without further ado, I'm going to invite him on. There we go. How's it going?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. First things first, man. How are you doing? Obviously, the fight on Fight Island didn't go your way, but how are you doing mentally after the fight?
I'm great, bro. I really am. I started training that Tuesday when I got back, light drilling, back to doing what I love. Obviously, not the performance that I wanted, or that I know that I can put forth, or the result that I wanted. But man, it was a blessing to be out on Fight Island. My dad called me for the first time. Met some of my best friends out of there, and I trained. Man, we were ready to go. Didn't come through how I believe I could have, but hey, I mean, I'm blessed to be in the UFC. More fights in my contract, and then after this next one, renew it and keep fighting, man. So I'm eagerly expecting, looking forward, looking ahead, and blessed to do what I love, really.
So emotionally, I'm sure it was pretty difficult. But how are you feeling physically? I mean, obviously, you took a shot there, but any injuries after that? I know you have I think it's 60-day medical suspension, but outside of that, are you good physically?
Physically, I'm great. Yeah, man, nothing crazy. And the most damage to the fight is a little scratch. Yeah, just a little scratch of I think maybe when he kicked me or something. Like one of the kicks of the fight, I think he threw up and just like scratched me a little bit, but maybe a glove. But other than that, man, no, body feels great. All medicals checked out, negative scans, negative results. So, or negative test results, which is perfect, So I'm honestly, I'm great, man. Just, on that protocol with the UFC PI is amazing. Their whole team, appreciate Charles and everybody, setting me everything I need just, for post, knockout recovery, anything that potential concussion. No concussion, I feel great. It's my first time ever being dropped or knocked out ever. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this is what happens and this is how it feels. But honestly, I'm blessed. I mean, no crazy repercussions or anything like that. So I'm good.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to a couple of the guys that I write with, and I said he's probably one of the few people whose really stock rose in a knockout loss. Like the way you handled it. You got attention from everybody in the MMA world, just being like, wow, like level of professionalism and how you handled it was superb, I guess. And he talked a little bit of trash before that. So kind of talk about why you were professional afterwards. Is it just the way you were? Was it something that you talked about with your coaches? How do you stay like positive even after a loss like that?
I look at people who talk trash, man. That's not real. I mean, it's not even about the person. I have to see what can I control myself, right? That's what fighting's about. And though, like even in the fight, like man, I have to control myself. I have to fight better that fight. So people can say whatever they want to say. People can talk trash. People can make fun. Fighters can talk junk, but it's really about what do you say about yourself. And I have a greater goal in mind. It doesn't stop right there. It's to be the best ever do it. Get the UFC middleweight title, move up and get the light heavyweight. Like my goals aren't stuck on one moment. If anything, they're built from a moment. And if I'm to lower myself to talk trash or engage in that because I think I should, it's not how I was raised. It's not how I was been coached. It's not my belief system. Like by faith, like I love what I get to do and I love people, and I love to fight. I really do. So it's like the fighting does it, right? It's not like I didn't fight the way I needed to, but the fight wasn't like a blowout, right? Yeah. So it's one of those things I'm not gonna ever lower my standards to talk trash or somebody, because if you just think about the phrase "talk trash," like I'm speaking garbage. It means that's coming out of me.
Yeah,
and that's not what's on the inside. And then one of those quotes I love from Stoics just talks about how somebody angers you, they become your master, and it's like you're a puppet to them. And I will never let anybody just control me that way, right? So for me, it's like, and then after the fight, we talked. It was cool, and sometimes I think people are just younger in our lives, especially fighters, man. Like you see it in boxing, you see it in MMA, especially. I think that people think they need to act a certain way, and for me, I'm breaking that mold. That's not me. Like I could talk trash. I talk trash to my teammates all the time. That's fun, but that's all like locker room, and that's all fun with your guys and your brothers because you know you'll laugh the next day.
Yeah.
But to have my dad there, and then one day I plan to be a dad one day, right? I plan to be married one day. I don't mind tell my kids this is how you should act, this is what you should do, and then they see me talking trash. I'm not. It's not who I am, and I won't let anybody change that about me. So that's why, really. I mean, it's like I love what I get to do. I'm not going to disgrace it or
Yeah,
disrespect it.
you had a very successful fight on the Contender Series and had two quick turnarounds. Some fighters seem to benefit from it. Guys like Donald Cerrone, Neil Magny, Sam Alvey, those guys tend to fight often. Are you somebody that likes to just get in there? I know you said you love fighting. Do you like fighting often? And do you think it's a benefit for you just staying busy, or do you think it may be something that might hinder you long term?
No, I mean I think that it's definitely something that benefits me. I don't think me turning around quickly had anything to do with the reason I lost. I actually think, if anything, that made me better. From the Contender Series from my second Contender Series fight to my UFC debut, I think that helped me out a lot, man. Because I was like, okay, I'm back in it. I'm going. I had a fight for a while, since like my first Contender Series fight, and then I had so many fights drop and things like that. So it felt great to get back in there and do what I love. Because the second time when I was on my UFC debut, it felt just like home. And then when I got into the on Fight Island, man, I felt comfortable. I was happy. I was in my peaceful place, not comfort like lazy. I didn't get going the way I needed to for sure, but I think that was my preparation, and I didn't get going. That's definitely on me. I'm not gonna take that. My coaches had me prepared. Diego had a great game plan. Coach Jim had a great game plan. Brian, my dad, they all took care of me on fight week. I failed there, and I own it. But I think me staying active keeps me going. It's like, what would a warrior want to be doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
what else would I rather want to be doing? Like, I would want to be. For me to just sit down and like not fight and train. I'm like, ooh, Lord, I love to train, so I'm happy I'm healthy enough to get back training and do what I love and refine. I love that. But at the same time, too, it's like, oh, I don't have to wait until the fight. But man, I mean, I look forward to that day because the day that comes is gonna feel like Christmas. It's gonna feel like, man, I'm back in here. I'm alive. I'm getting to do what I love to do. Literally, my hands are healthy, my shin's healthy, my body's healthy. Like nothing is beat up. So it's like when I get in that fight, by the time I get a fight in 52 days, but who's counting? Right? At least when I'm cleared to fight, right? I'll be that much more improved, that much better, and I can make adjustments from last fight and my pre-fight prep as well.
I want to talk about, you mentioned it a couple of times, your dad in your corner. I think it was the first time he's ever cornered you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What was the whole experience like with him? I mean, obviously going to Fight Island with him, I'm sure that whole thing was a hell of a journey.
Man, it is a blessing. Having my dad's my hero, man. He's done a lot for me. He's still does to this day. Always believes in me, always pushes me, always challenges me. And he's today. I actually saw him wearing the whole walkout kit. He's so proud. For me, it's like I personally, I'm like, man, I wish I had the best performance of my life that fight, right? And but it's like when he's your dad, he still loves you, he's proud. I'll have him on every fight trip if possible, right? And I'm having him on every chance we get. My mom is like, my mom and dad are married, but they always call each other. He refers to her as his girlfriend. He's like, man, my girlfriend, she'll be fine without me, whatever, right? They'll be fine chilling. But it's just a great experience, man. He's the kind of man I want to be, right? He's the kind of man that he works so hard. He's came to America with $12 in his pocket, built a fortune, built a life. It pushed me and challenged me, and is always so disciplined and loving. And he was keeping everybody up to date back home. To have him there, to walk out with him, he came with me to the weigh-ins, the media. He got to see everything, and then the different kind of perspective he got on mixed martial arts and MMA was completely new to him, right? So it was kind of fun sharing that part with him. I had a great weight cut. I didn't have to get in the sauna, so that was awesome. So he didn't have to see me suffer, but I could see him like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like because a lot of my teammates and I, we always have fun, we're always joking, we're laughing, and then he's just like, well, it does get serious, right? So he wore the GoPro all around, so you'll see some videos. Gonna have a YouTube channel coming out. So from first Contender Series, second Contender Series to debut, and some stuff in between. So I'm excited to share that. And you're the first person I told about that, actually. So I'm excited about that. But man, my dad was welcomed by the UFC. And if I could be proud to work in an organization, work with some people, man, and the UFC. So I thank their staff. I think everybody. They made my dad feel like he was the one fighting that week. Like they're like, oh, what do you need? And they're just coming up to him, shaking his hand. You should have seen the first time Michael Chiesa, Paul Felder, Karen, everybody, Gooden, and who else is in there? Going blank, other blank. One of the other announcers.
Dan Hardy was there.
Dan Hardy, yeah, Dan Hardy, and one other person. They were all so welcoming, man. Like I said, Dad, you can send an interview with me. He's like, what? Me? Wow. And I haven't seen a smile. Then the UFC Arabia, I think it was UFC Arabia came and interviewed him, and the smile on his face, man. I was like, Dad, why don't you get an interview? He's like, what? No, I can if you need me to. I was like, come on, get in there. He took pictures, and Juan and Kaylee, the photographers through the UFC, they were making him feel like he was on top of the world, and I couldn't thank them enough, right? And Dr. Tara, everybody, they like the entire staff there made my dad feel welcome. Then being in Abu Dhabi, there are many people from from different parts of Africa, so they just kept coming to my dad, hugging him, talking to him. So I was like, the hotel, the W, man, like I've never seen my dad just smile like that from ear to ear the entire trip. And then on the way back, I let him have my first class seat, and he was just chilling, feeling like a king. Like, man, I didn't get the victory as far as the fight, but to share this moment with my dad early in my career, and he get to see during this corona. I mean, I'm so I thank God every day. Like I really thank God. Like I tell my dad, like having him there was the best experience. And he went with me to the hospital after the fight, right? And I got to share that moment with him too, because I don't plan for that to happen anymore. So it's like, so I want him to. So he got to see almost everything, and how I think it was Michael was his name. I can't remember right now. He got knocked out at that time. So, but he said, "Yeah, we'll get you taken care of. You got me the casket." And my dad was just like, welcomed. So that whole experience, man, was one of the biggest blessings of my life with him.
I was actually getting a little emotional hearing that story. I mean, my family's abroad, and coming over here, I'm living in Canada, but we're originally from Spain, so very similar in the sense that I can imagine what your father went through to provide you with those opportunities. You wore the USA flag, and you kind of represent the United States, but you're originally from the Congo. Is that correct? That's where your family's from?
Yeah, my family's from, my roots are from there. I'm the first person in my family born outside of Congo. So I was born in the United States, born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
So what's it like representing, Congo in a way, being able to be one of the few African fighters on the UFC roster?
Man, that honor is almost unexplainable. Like growing up, when I was young, I was made fun of a lot for it. I wouldn't say bullied. Let me take that back. Like I was just like, you weren't. There are things people would say when you're young that they just don't know. I wouldn't say it's bullying. I think it's just ignorance. More about like being African, being this. Oh, do you live by a zebra? Do this, and you're almost ashamed to share your culture.
Yeah.
Right. But the older you get, you start realizing you won't know who you are until you know where you come from, or at least somewhat, or like what you've been through. And to be able to like grow through that, and always think for me to represent Congo, even though I'm mouthpiece, I always have like the half Congolese flag, half United States flag. Yeah, I'm proud to be an American, man. I love being American, man. I know we have crazy things going on in this country for sure, but I'm so proud to be here and see my parents' story. Super cool fact about the flag that I walked out with. The first time I walked out with I used to walk out with strictly the Congolese flag because that's the only one I had. It was a gift. But then I also got an American flag. In the UFC, you have to have them sewn together or something. My dad knows how to sew, and he sewed the two flags together, which to me was very symbolic. Like my dad was the first person in his family to leave Congo, to leave everything, and brought a lot of his family here, and everybody started building their lives. So like for me, him sewing that flag together, that will always be the most honorable piece that I carry on fight week. To represent people in Congo, to get the love that they sending, to have my dad be a part of it all, like that is almost like the American dream we talk about, right?
Yeah.
You build, and then you see your kids do it, and then I get to bring them along. My dad always said he wanted to go to the Middle East. He wanted to go to Abu Dhabi, and he used to travel a lot when I was little. And then now I got to bring him, and him being a world traveler, him being an immigrant, him being a person who raised me this, like to represent my culture and my people, and something I can actually stand and be proud of, and the warriors that come from our culture. Like I'm grateful, man. I'm just like, to have him there, it just makes me so happy, man. It feels, I'm getting so excited right now. I'm like, I'm ready to fight again. But it's super, it was just super cool, man, having that honor to represent them and wear the Congolese crest on my my UFC fight kit for the first time. And I think I'll always switch between USA and Congo and really fight another country where that country's colors represent the people. But really, man, it always means a ton to me that that I get to represent Congo. Like it's such a beautiful land, beautiful people, so much going on there, a lot of corruption, a lot of craziness. But then also too, I get to use this platform to bring awareness, but also use this position that I am to one day go back and help. So there's a lot.
Yeah, so it's it's crazy to think that even just maybe even 5 years ago, a potential UFC Africa just seems so far-fetched and not even possible. But now you've got guys like Francis, Israel Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, and you're right there as well. What would it mean to you if the UFC were to be able to say, you know what, we're going back, maybe not Congo, but maybe a Nigeria or a Morocco? What would it mean to you to be able to be part of a card like that?
Oh man, to be on that card, for me, it's like I don't just see myself as Congolese. I am Congolese for sure, but I look at it as like we're one tribe, one soil, one people. There's too much, like in America, we might have racism, but and you see tribalism. People like always, many people put themselves away. Like for me, it's like I see it as a one tribe, one soil. Like Yusuf, the Moroccan, comes from the Moroccan.
Yusuf Zalal,
yeah, Zalal. He awesome guy, man. We met before the trip. We were talking. Really, really cool guy, welcoming. I see him as my African brother, and I see everybody's African sisters and brothers. Like I see everybody. Like it doesn't matter where somebody's from. I just see people as humans. And the cool thing about being African is like I could say we're all connected in a way, right? Huge culture, family oriented. So it doesn't matter what country it is we're in at that time. And I would love to fight in Congo one day in Kinshasa, like the Rumble in the Jungle was. I'm gonna keep speaking that. But man, to fight on a card, let's say Israel's headlining and he has a middleweight title defense in Nigeria, and I see myself fighting him one day, like that to me would just always be symbolic. And to be on that undercard, to be on that card and earn my way up, or to fight for the title in their country, let's just say like fight Israel Adesanya in Nigeria, to fight these guys when that time does come. Like that would be such a huge honor. And it's not me being against this African country. To me, it's be like we get to celebrate the pioneers who came before me, Mark Diakise, Adesanya, Ngannou, Usman, like these guys who all paved the way and made it something so special. Like that for me would be like, man, thank you, and I'm honored. And now I get to carry that on. Like that would mean the world to me. And I believe it's going to happen one day, man. So I got to get back back to doing what I do, working, training, claiming these victories. And I believe that when that time does come, it would make sense for me to be out there, all in God's plan, all in God's will. But man, you keep talking about this stuff. I'm really excited to call and text them like, why don't we do this now? Kind of thing. So I'm excited, man. Really am.
I want to talk to you about one thing specifically. I'm an accountant by day.
No way.
I'm an accountant by day, and I do this on the side for fun. And as a former accountant, I guess I still like doing accounting, but I do have a passion for MMA, not fighting necessarily. I guess what would your message be to someone in my shoes who's doing another job on the side, but has a passion in something like MMA? I mean, you were an accountant and you switched, and now you're doing fighting full time. So what would your message be to someone like me?
Well, man, for you, so you're doing a great job already, man. So like sometimes people look at what they lack and not see what they have. Like, oh man, I wish I could do this full time, only that, blah, blah, blah. You're doing great. The fact that you started your own stream, the fact that you started your own channel, you're on episode 102, which I'm honored to be a part of. So you're consistent about it. You're doing it. Remember, consistency is king, but also too, like take your work that you are, your profession, and fund your passion so that one day can become your profession, right? If this is what you want to do forever, what's the most creative way? What's the most professional way to do it? What will you do? Like if you're going to be the best accountant, take those same principles and put it into your journalism. Like maybe you take a journalism course and a creative media course. Like what makes you you? What makes you stand out, right? Like for me, when I left accounting, I had to let everything go because I knew nothing, right? I couldn't really do fighting on the side or do it at the certain times at the gym that I'm in, Gym-O. Right?
Yeah.
I couldn't really at the time. So when I got offered a job, a promotion, it was going to interfere with my training. And I prayed about it. And I said, God, this is what you want me to call me to do? Like by faith, I'm letting everything go because I had to at that time, right? To make as many training sessions to not make up for the time that I never done it, but like to take advantage of all the time that's offered, right? So what gives you that niche? What will allow you to stand apart from the rest? And then what trips can you take? Like where can you go to? Like who can I would say reach out to many journalists in the MMA world, but also journalists who have nothing to do with MMA. Like what makes them so special? Study them, obsess over it. And then also I would say start just writing your journal every day, man. Like questions maybe fighting about talking to you, talking to a friend. So I think you do a great job. It feels like almost like in the living room, right? So I think you have that about you. So how do you make all these people feel welcome? And then how do you challenge yourself? Interview yourself. Put yourself in the fighter's shoes. I appreciate you and you're respectful. Like some people some people don't understand like the magnitude of fighting. Like I'm different. I mean, I take things differently, so it doesn't bother me. But like some people wouldn't. So what will set you apart? And then also too, like I would look at like a lot of people ask fighters about the fight. They ask fighters about like what got them there and their motivation. But also feel free to ask fighters about like where they are mentally and just like what are some of the most challenges that fighters have. I never really hear questions like that. Like I'll listen to 100 interviews a week or 100 interviews a day, right, of great people. Then ask them like what questions aren't they asking, right? Because people want to see what they don't know. If you hear 4 interviews and every interview is about the same, like I would say, ask the questions people just don't like aren't willing to ask in the most respectful way, or what can you recommend to the fighter? Maybe not even about their fighting style, but say, hey man, here's a book I read and it helped me build my dream as a journalist. And then it creates that conversation because the fighter thinks about you that way. And then and then not just the fighting, but the MMA. But if it's your passion, man, what tools do you need? How do you most invest in this? Like, what does your studio look like? Even if you have one chair, one monitor, one everything, like what can you invest in that? And also too, like it just, I mean, I have to think about it. I could definitely write you some more because this is off the top of my head, but like I would just say, man, if it's your passion, let nothing get in the way with it. Like, right?
Yeah.
Let nothing, even on the most challenging day where you just don't feel like asking questions, make that the day you ask the questions you ask, and then just like right, and maybe sometimes too, like pre-interview, like sometimes some people send questions in. Some people don't. Some fighters don't want to read questions. Some people don't want whatever. But like, ask that. Oh, I would ask the coaches, interview teams, interview people in the gym. Hey, can I just talk to somebody from your gym? Can I talk to your coach? Can I call people from the PI? Ask them like 10-minute questions. I'm just doing a 1 minute and then put it together. I don't know. I'll just go any creative, abstract route because I love that. When I hear interviews, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I never heard that one before, right? But if I hear like another fighter, okay, I understand that as a fighter. But man, like I think you're doing a great job. The fact that you're doing this, just take every little bit that you can and invest back into your career. And also too, like what makes you happy? Like if you're listening to an interview, what would make you want to stay in tune, right? And then like for somebody who's letting everything go, and I hope I don't go too much into the interview part, but like with accounting, what for me from when I left accounting, it was like this. If I'm gonna do this, I'm got to give it everything I have, and I don't ever want to have. I don't when I'm done fighting, when I am like later in my career, I don't even have the option to go to accounting. I know it's there, but I don't even want to give myself the option to do that. If I feel like in a few years, I still think, oh man, I probably should do accounting, then I feel like I failed because I didn't take advantage of every single thing that I had with MMA. Like right now, I see that I should be in a position that I never have to go back to accounting, right? So what can you do with your passion? What can you do to cultivate that? What can you do to make it grow? Great, you can ask or imagine, right? By faith and by working hard every day, that'll make that accounting seem like a secondary thought that you never have to have again. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like that's part of the reason why I even started it was to kind of hope for something greater than doing the same thing 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. But it was also I found all MMA interviews were the same, same questions, and a lot of them were clickbait, like so and so calls out so and so, and what I liked what I do is I just write literally what you see below is what I write. And it's like watch the whole thing and you can kind of see the dialogue and hear it rather than just me trying to get followers and subscribers. It was just for me that's kind of the reason why I did it, and I want to be able to have a conversation more so than an interview type thing. And that's but man, I appreciate that. That's actually it's funny because I just bought the platform to do this. So to hear you say invest in it, and I was like, man, that's kind of what I needed. That's what those little things there and those sorts of tips. So I appreciate it, man. I actually it's kind of nice to hear someone who had the same background I did and to see how they've risen and the success they've had.
Oh man, no, thank you, man. It's good to see people go after their dreams and their passion. Like I think I have respect for anybody who's doing accounting. I think sometimes it can come across like, oh, forget that. No, like some people, man, they love it, and some people it's provided for their families, and some people that's all that that's what they have. So I agree, especially the time where many people are losing their jobs in the middle of the pandemic. But if you do have a passion, something's calling your heart, bro. See how you can best make that happen, right? What's the best way for you to make that happen? And before you know it, like this will pay. Like let it organically grow. Be you, be respectful, be loving. You don't have to be clickbait. Like I think that's where the trash talk comes from, right? Like they see, oh my gosh, and like sometimes it's funny. I don't think trash talk is the best thing in the world, but I think that guys seeing people like fighters who've succeeded and they've had trash talk, and they're like, man, look what they've done for their families. And this person's like, well, I'll trash talk anybody so I can do this for my family. And then you see, but you think about it like, is that really what you want? Like, because I think about the long term effects. Like, you listen to guys like Mike Tyson, he says he doesn't even want to listen to his old interviews because he's embarrassed. And people like how they used to be, right? You don't have to be that to be a monster in the octagon or the ring. But it's at the same time, too, with interviews, you don't have to be like everybody else. Like, think about this. If you one day you have kids, you have a family, and you want them to say, Dad, I want to listen to the interviews that you did. I want to be a journalist just like you. And they're 5 years old. And when they're at 5 years old, they should be able to listen to your interviews, not be like, wait, what did you just say? Or why would you tell somebody that? Like, how insensitive were you? But when you can, like, the great legacy is to pass it down to the ones that, like, to your predecessor, like the ones who come after you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your, well, I guess future ancestors, like your legacy. And I think about like when I pass down what I do, I want my children to be like, man, they're comfortable coming into gym. Like, my dad's not really a jerk; he's really a nice guy. And the same thing for you, man. Like whoever, like, or maybe that's just a young kid who's inspired by the way you tell stories, the way you interview people. And I think that's going to be a huge testimony to the way things need to go. Let things go organically. What's 100,000 followers, and what's 3,000 followers?
Yeah.
But when it's all quality, when people really, really feel it, I think that's where the respect is earned. And then money will come. So never worry about that stuff.
All right, I'll ask you a couple more questions. I know I told you 20 minutes, so we're running a bit longer, but I love it.
Man, my fault.
No, it's great. Man, you're fun to talk to, and like you said, it's more organic when we're just having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask you a couple more. I couldn't go without asking about Gym-O. I mean, very successful team, and guys like Joe Selecki, Brian Barberina, you name it. A lot of success coming out of that camp. However, it's kind of fallen under the radar. A lot of people aren't talking about it. Do you think it's because it's a smaller camp, and do you think there's a lot of benefits to having a close-knit team such as Gym-O, rather than, maybe a big team that you could have hundreds of training partners, but maybe not necessarily the one-on-one training you may need?
I think so. Okay, with one-on-one training, I think that you have to seek that as a fighter, right? It's funny because you could be in a small gym and nobody's seeking out one-on-one training. You can be in a big gym and everybody's seeking out, or nobody seeks it out at all, right? What I love about Gym-O and Coach is that you have that private, you have that one-on-one feel, you have that closed boutique gym, and you get to address certain issues that you might not ever get addressed anywhere else, right? And, guys like Selecki, my man, who just had a baby, shout out to him, baby Nora, and guys who come into, like, Selecki comes back and forth from Wilmington, right? And he brings such a plethora of knowledge, like him and Salter, right? When they come down from Wilmington, man, like the amount of learning you get in those sessions is second to none. And then having Coach Gym-O, man, who is my second dad, right? My second dad, he just brings a lot of love to the room, right? And he challenges us and he pushes us, right? I don't want to knock those big gyms. I mean, like, like you see some great guys come out of those gyms, and like, there's a benefit to having 40 different training partners with different looks, right? And guys who come every day, guys who are there to do some great work, right? And they just want to be in the wolf's den, right? Then you have guys like Barberina and Hot Sauce, right, who come in and they just bring years and years of experience, but also great men. And I think that's what makes Gym-O special, really. It's about the people. And I think, yeah, sometimes I think we're growing and fly under the radar as well, because we have less fighters than some gyms, but the quality of fighters, I don't think it doesn't change. It's not like, oh, like this guy versus this guy. Like you saw Brian fight Luke last year, fight all these guys. Like it wasn't like Scott, Jim Miller, and then they just fight in New Jersey. Like they fought some solid fighters too. Mm-hmm. So these big gyms, I think they have quicker turnarounds because they have more guys fighting, right? You could have 3 guys fight in 1 month, 4 people fight the next month, and it's just like their name stays in the media and in the circuit, which they've earned and they deserve, right? So I think that's the only reason, really. But there are benefits to both for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna ask a couple more, and then I'll let you go. Huge fight this weekend, and I couldn't go without asking. I mean, Everybody's been talking about it for months, and it doesn't even seem real that it's happening. I mean, Khabib versus Gaethje. I mean, It's insane. It's like 7 days away, and it's crazy. I thought it was never going to happen with everything going on with Khabib's dad. That being said, what's your prediction for the fight?
I mean, they're both my favorite. Both they two of my favorite fighters. It's like picking which I don't know which glove you like better. It's like I don't know. It's that was weird. I said that. That sounded weird when I said that. It sounded better in my head. But how's it gonna go? I think if anybody can get Khabib, it'd be Gaethje. Oh god, it's so hard to pick against Khabib. I'm gonna pick Gaethje because I want to see him rocking it and see what he's gonna do. Then again, like I said, I can go either way. But for my pick for this fight, I'm picking Justin Gaethje.
I love it. I was on the fence. I've been on the fence back and forth. I ended up sticking with Khabib just because how do you pick against him when the guy has literally no flaws in his game? Every time someone's like he's gonna get caught by Conor, he goes out and mauls him. So it's really a pick against him. But I think if anyone's gonna do it, like you said, I think it's Gaethje.
Yeah, I think so because Gaethje can wrestle. He's done it. He's with it. Coach Whitman is an excellent coach, right? And he knows how to zero Gaethje in. And you saw how he just picked apart Ferguson. I'm not saying Ferguson could be the same at all, but I think they know how to game plan. He knows what to do. He's been proven to claim victory after victory after victory, and he's not scared to get in there. I think some people get scared of Khabib. Knowing Gaethje, unless it changes on Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, I think that he knows how to do it. Then again, too, who knows how that travel affects Gaethje? Who knows how Khabib's been to Abu Dhabi, so maybe there's benefits to that. But I think Gaethje can get it. Let's see. And it's fun to pick that maybe not everybody else will pick, right? So we'll see.
All right, I'm going to ask you one last one, and then I'll let you go. I hate to end it on this note, but I guess what advice would you give to someone who kind of had a loss like that, whether it's an MMA or something else, in public? I mean, the world's seeing it, millions of people are seeing it. I'm sure it's hard to see, but what advice would you give to someone who's going through something like that? And what's like a positive message?
Man, what a blessing it is to have a public failure, right? Because you don't have to change. You don't have to lie about it. You don't have to change anything about it. Everybody knows, right? And I was actually in church today and thinking about that. What a joy it is to get the opportunity to show how you rise and show that what you're really meant to do, right? A lot of people before my fight, he's undefeated. They didn't know he's doing really well. And, some questions, but he didn't fight too terribly, blah, blah, blah. He still lost. He did this, right? But what a blessing it is to take advantage of that opportunity to let everybody laugh, let everybody say what they want to say, let everybody tag you in the video or whatever. But then that gets to share. You get to share who you are. You get to show your character. You get to show what you stand for. And if you feel like you lost, it doesn't mean you have to stay defeated forever, right? It doesn't mean you have to be in a place where you have to live in a state or an atmosphere of defeat. If anything, you get to live in a state of resurrection where you get to come back better than ever. And I think that shows people so many people feel defeated right now. They lost their business, they lost their job, they were doing so well, they were thriving, and then they lost everything. They fell flat on their face. But then they realize they get to rebuild and build something better that could inspire so many. So for me, it's you actually now have the responsibility and the opportunity. And that's what I tell myself. I have the responsibility, opportunity to let people know what fighters do, right? If I'm undefeated, right, and I did this, I believe I never have to lose again, right? And that's a great thing. But if you give yourself the permission to win and the permission to claim victory after falling short in public, then when you're back in public and you're claiming victory and you're at the top and you're rising, can you imagine how people are going to see and how they're going to feel and how inspired they'll be? So take advantage of that opportunity, own your failure, and then also you get the opportunity to adjust and be a better you. You get a better you get the opportunity to be the best version of yourself, and that's going to be a better version for the world to see, right? Because the fighter that was on me, I thought it was the best version today, but I'm like, wait, there's so much more I can do now. There's so many more lessons. There's so much more training I can get in. There's so much more about me that I get to show the world. And I thank God for that opportunity. And then the Bible just talks about, thank God that I've been afflicted. It's a good thing that I've been afflicted because now I can share the gospel. I get to share the God's word, right? For me, that's my faith. That's my ministry. But I also get to share something positive and maybe it's encouraging people. Because before I didn't have as many eyes on me, right? And then people saw the fight, like, oh, excellent fight, blah, blah, blah. oh, you got that shot was crazy, and it was a great shot by Joaquin, beautiful shot, great shot. But now I can still use my platform to hopefully spread positivity, spread love, and especially in a time like this, I have the responsibility as a professional athlete, as a professional fighter, as a fighter, like to let people know that yeah, you're knocked down, but you get back up, right? And the Bible says the righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets up 8. So really, every time you fall, you get the opportunity to get back up even better. And if you look at any great company, any great story, any great warrior, anything you ever see in life, the ones who fell, the ones who've fallen short, and then they come back, what they become. Look at Lomachenko, right? He fell early in his career to Salido, but came back. He fell again, fell again, and then but look, he's gonna come back better, right? You see guys like guys who you get so many opportunities, man, to be something special. Usman, one loss, became the champion. Like, look at Poirier. Sometimes you have to fall flat on your face, man, and there's no shame in that. The shame is in not owning it, because when you own it, you lose the power of self-efficacy. You lose that power to change yourself. You lose that power to become something greater than you could ever ask or imagine. But when you get to look within yourself and you get to reassess your whole area, you get to reassess your life. Sometimes, and I know I refer to the Bible, but it's what helps me, right? John 15 talks about God's a true vine, and you got to look at the gardener. Sometimes you got to cut a plant and it hurts. You got to prune it, right? But the best way for you to grow is by cutting off what holds you down, right? Whether it's an old thought, whether it's a negative thought, whether it's thinking you're punished. Like, you're never punished because you go through a bad moment. God's not punishing you. Life's not punishing you. It's just that challenge it's helping you grow to become better. And if you realize that it's helping you grow to become better, the more you grow, like if you prune a rose, that's when you get to see the beauty of the rose. If you never prune it, it never gets to grow the way it needs to. If you don't prune the crops, like you don't ever really get to experience the best harvest. So the greater harvest that's coming usually comes after a time of pruning. So that's how I look at it. Like, I look at fights like I get a prune from my old self. I get to lose myself. Usually I'll cut my hair. I'm thinking about, shaving my mohawk, right? And going back to a place where it's like, okay, cool. I didn't get what I wanted. It feels painful. It hurts. But own that, live in that. And then what you get to become from that is what's going to inspire many. And that's the responsibility. You get the opportunity. You get the responsibility to help other people. And that in turn will help yourself. So you get to become that much greater of an artist. And if you feel like you've fallen, if you feel like you've had that public loss, don't worry. Your public success will shine that much better if that's what matters. But don't even worry about the people in public. Focus on yourself, because the person you get to become, nobody else gets to see, right? The person you get to become in private, the person you become in public, that's going to be a testimony for the world to see, right? So don't be discouraged. Don't worry about it. You'll be totally fine.
Man, I love that. And I think there's no better way to end it on, man. What a beautiful message. I mean, taking all that negativity that's come your way and turning it into a positive. And I think it's really important for not just the MMA community, but people in general to kind of hear messages like that. I think especially right now in 2020 with everything that's going on, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. It meant a lot. This was probably one of the more heartfelt ones, talking about everything from your dad cornering you to even that message there at the end. So I really appreciate it. I know we're running way over time, but
I don't know, man.
I appreciate it. So all the best, man, and we'll have you back on after your next one, or even before your next one. I really
Thank you so much. Yeah, please let me know for sure.
All right, man. All the best. Stay safe and take care.
Thank you. Have a good one. God bless.
All right, there we are. Impa Kasanganay. I've been a fan of his for a long time. This is one of the more emotional ones. I mean, he's experiencing a lot of public negativity, but man, the way he turns it around and turns it into a positive is really inspirational. And I think it's something that a lot of us can learn from. That being said, thanks again to everybody for tuning in. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. All the best.